if the tone of voice is as negative as your body language, kids look up and they think, well, I'm going to be blamed for what I do anyway. I might as well just continue, So you're setting bad behavior as the norm because the kids think, well, why bother?
Parenthood is challenging enough as it is, and getting organized sounds easier said than done. Now, combine these two together, and it's truly a balancing act that many of us struggle with day in, day out. If you're here, it's because you want to know how to get your life and home more organized and structured where the kids are involved too, so that parent life is a little easier and you can focus on what truly matters. Hey there, I'm Dianne Jimenez, owner and founder of One Tidy Place. I created this podcast because I know parents have their hands full. I know this because I have 3 kids of my own. Each week, we'll talk about all things organizing, teaching kids life skills, and contributing to the home, being on the same page with your partner, and raising your kids together while you tidy up, go out for a walk, or just need some real talk. I'm here for you. Thank you for tuning in. Are you ready? Let's do this.
Hey there, welcome to another episode of Parenting Guide Organizing Habits Made Easy podcast. And as you can see, I'm once again in my car recording this episode. But do not worry because the whole episode is not going to be in my car at all. I'm actually interviewing Kathy Bowers, a parenting and life coach, who I decided to interview because she has over 20 years of working in social care and children's services. And she supported many families directly in their homes with parenting issues and behavioral challenges, preserving the family unit. And she's also worked with attachment theory, so her work emphasizes the importance of secure and loving relationships for healthy child development. Now, Kathy's interview was done months ago, and if you listen to my last podcast episode, you know it's been a very, very busy last few months because of my mother's flood. And not sure if I've mentioned this on a podcast, but my kids had allergies that we had to get down to business to see what that was all about. So that took a few months on top. My mom living with us and also all the other things that come along with life. Needless to say, this podcast episode is super important and it's something that I've been wanting to put out there for a long time. So thank you so much for your patience in this. And I hope you enjoyed the episode and get a lot of takeaways. So here she is, Kathy Bowers, life and parenting coach. Thank you so much, Kathy, for being here and taking time to also answer our hot questions that many parents have been asking. So I can't wait to hear what you have to say about parenting and raising children and a lot of, I guess, guidance that you can offer us. So I'm very excited for that. And away we go. All right.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to be here.
So let's start first about who you are and how you came about to what you're doing right now.
Right. Firstly, I'm a parent of 3, 2 boys and a girl who are all adults now, and they have given me 2 wonderful grandchildren. One of 7 years and one of 16 months. I'm also became a one-parent family after getting divorced. So I coped with the change from being married to then being a mum with 3 young children. I worked originally as a nursery nurse when I was 16. That was working with children in schools, nurseries, agency work, day nannying, living in nannies. And then over time, I trained as a family support worker, which meant that I worked with social care and children's services in family homes, helping parents to initially simple tasks like they have a problem with some parenting issue, they're putting in a routine. So I help them look at solutions and find easy ones to change. And that worked for maybe 2 or 3 months maximum, and they never came back. And then social services thought, we can use this group of 29 people to do more intensive work, and that'll save us going in every week to visit, and we can then go to the courts and do other stuff. So we then got parents who were entrenched with trauma. They had unfortunately, children taken away. They'd had other children, they'd been taken away, and the pattern kept on going on. And they kept on repeating the same issues. And I was asked to go in and help fix the thing. And I said, well, it's not really a fix. They have to learn how to do it, or they could lose the children they had. And unfortunately, not many succeeded because they were asking for me to give them the answers rather than make change for themselves. And like all of us, we'll only do something if we agree with it. If we don't, we just sat there. And they had other issues, obviously, addictions, mental health, lots of different things going on, which impacted and needed to be dealt first. And in 2018, I trained as a performance coach, and I brought that into the mix into the house. And I said, from now on, I'm not giving you the answers. I will help you find the answers, but you have to look within and you have to make those changes. And although they didn't like the idea, it was more beneficial for them because they kept saying, well, can't you come and live with us, Kathy, and help? It doesn't work that way. So this is your responsibility. You chose to get married or have your kids, raise a family. And if you've got in a mess, but you need to sort it out, and there's things out there that can help you, so look first at what's going on for you first, make those changes, and then impact that how you work with your children. So that was okay. I lasted about 6 to 8 years working with families, but I didn't like how things were. I felt my hands were tied. I felt I could do more doing my coaching, my life coaching, because I was only at one time when I first started, I could go with a family, be there for a year and another one 6 months. And it was great because they were specifically made for that individual family. But then all of a sudden we were told, no, 6 weeks is your limit, then you're out. And we went, well, 6 weeks isn't enough for anybody to tell their life story and to have worked through things. I said, oh, maybe some of them, maybe 2, 3 weeks, that's your lot. And I said, so what happens then? They said, oh, I said, you're just ticking a box and putting them somewhere else where they haven't got that support. So that's one of the reasons I thought, no, not for me. Because I feel holistically, as a holistic therapist and Reiki practitioner, you have to treat the whole person, you know. And even when I said to them about doing Reiki, they said, you can't do that. And I said, you don't know anything about Reiki. You don't know how it works. You're saying this can't be used because it's not how we do things. And I said, but sometimes you go to a family and they're not ready at that particular day. They need something done for themselves. They need maybe a bit of love and TLC done to them that day to help them move on. They're having a bad day, a bad moment,
Mhm.
but they didn't want to know. So I just thought, okay, I'll start my life changing. But it took me a long while to build that up because I wasn't IT focused. I didn't know what I was doing. I thought I had a website that was marketable, but it wasn't. It was still wrong. I was doing posts which were generic. They weren't tailor made and things. So here I am now, and I work with parents who have gone through. They're stable enough to know they've started work on themselves, and they want to find the best way to communicate with their children, support their children through all their growing up years and beyond, to adults, and learn how to parent in a positive way and make easier parenting for everybody in the family and bringing harmony back into family life. So that's what I do now with families and parents. And I also work on individuals who are stuck or who have a specific goal they want to reach out and try and achieve.
A
So,
lot of life experiences that led you to this and your own experience, of course.
yes.
Wonderful. And so now that you're training and coaching and guiding parents to be kind of, I guess, the best parent that they can be, I guess everybody has their individual styles and, how important is communication or what types of communications are there out there?
Communication is the biggest thing for every human being, how we communicate with one another. But it's 90% is through our body language to start off with. It's not just a verbal, it's a body language that comes first. So, for example, if you've got children and your children have been playing up, if you wake up the next day and you think, oh, am I going to have the same rubbish again as I had the night before, the day before? If you go out thinking like that, your children watch everything you do. And the first thing they'll notice is your body language, your facial expressions, your eye expressions, even before you've opened your mouth. And then obviously the tone of voice. If the tone of voice is as negative as your body language, kids look up and they think, huh, well, I'm going to be blamed for what I do anyway. I might as well just continue, So you're setting bad behavior as the norm because the kids think, well, why bother? And it's like us. If no one gives us praise, if no one says, well done to whatever you've done at work or what you've done at home or
Mhm.
anything, done a lovely meal, if you're just producing the meals and no one's thanking you, thanks, mum, for a nice, tasty meal, you're not being appreciated. Your self-esteem goes really flat, goes low. You know, we all benefit from praise. And that's how communication should be. It should be positive attitude. Take each day as a new day, a new beginning with your children. And remember that they're your kids. They're little. They don't, I mean, the common thing parents said was, oh, he's purposely done this to pee me off. This,
Oh
that.
my God.
Kids don't think like that. They don't plan ahead and think, yeah, let's wind mum and dad up or grandma. Let's do. They just don't think like that. But as adults, we come back with, yeah, they knew what they were doing. They had this all systematically planned to be like this. No. So you have to really look at why your children are communicating in the way they do. Is it, first of all, us adults putting that stigma on them because we're behaving in a bad way that they're copying? Or is there something going on for those children and they haven't got the verbal skills to tell us what's going on? So they're acting out in the only way they can with their
Mhm.
actions, to show us. So it's so important to look at all the way our children respond to us through actions, language, what they say or what they don't say.
True.
There's so many different ways. And we, as parents, we have to be able to listen, really listen and really hear what they're saying, but also what they're not saying.
Absolutely. Very interesting that you say this because I completely agree about the whole communication and it not being fully verbal. It's anything before we've opened our mouth. So, how do we, as parents, because of like all the stress or we had a bad day, how do we get to that point ourselves to be able to communicate effectively and, correctly so that the child or our children can grasp the information. So how do we get to that point of, okay, it's about them, it's about their development. How do we do that?
Have to first work on ourselves and see what's going on in our life. If we're working like most people work, what's stressing us out at work? Are we taking too much on? Are we being pushed and bullied at work? Are we being told we've got to do all this stuff and they're overloading us and we know we can't cope? What do we do? Is it time to put your hands up and say, I can't do any more. This is enough. I'm not taking it home because people start bringing their work home and then they're doing it in the evening. The next thing they know, they're doing it over the weekend and work is taking over their whole life. So not only have they done it at work or if they're working from home, but it's gone into the time that they should be spending with their children. It stops, you're so knotted up with stress. I mean, stress is a killer. It's good to have short amounts of stress because it's challenging and you can fire on, you get really good ideas. But if that level of stress keeps building and building and building, what you're going to end up doing is having an emotional breakdown, a heart attack, or God knows, or family breakdown. So you have to really look at what's going on for you. The same with if you've got mental health or a physical problem, you might have backache, which is really eats in that. If you've got constant pain, that's another thing stops you from being able to control your life in a positive way. So anything that's affecting you, or if you've got an addiction, you must get that sorted out first. Or if you're a family that's domestic abuse, again, there's plenty of things going on with families. It's not all straightforward. You might have someone who's gambling, you know, you might have a financial problem that you're in so much debt, you can't sleep at night, you're worried. So all those things you have to think this is impacting on not only just me, but my kids. So you have to make sure that you've done dealing with that first. Then when you've done that, you then start thinking, about your time. What quality time are you giving yourself first? Never mind your kids. What time of in the whole day, the night, do you actually do for yourself? Now, it's so common for women. We give our all to everybody. We give it to our partners, our kids, our extended family. So we're doing this all the time, plus running the house, plus cooking, plus working, just running children backwards and forwards to different after school events and things, or their hobbies or interests. And we get back and you say to mums, what have you got for you? I haven't had time for me. So you have to look at a time for you specifically, whether it's before the children get up in the morning for school, or when they're at school, or when they've gone to bed in the evening. Do something for you that you really will benefit from. It's not just sitting and watching another TV,
Mm.
or even reading a book or having a bath. There must be something more for yourself that you used to do maybe before you had the kids that you could really home in on. So to give your mental space in your head.
Absolutely. So you're thinking, because I hear a lot about self care. So you're basically asking them, or I guess encouraging parents to have some sort of outlet as opposed to watching TV or reading a book. So can you give me some sort of examples of an outlet that a parent can do with like a very busy household? What's a good outlet?
Well, I mean, the thing is, your children don't have to be 24/7 around you. If there's two of you, you can make a thing where you say, well, I'll have half an hour at this time in the day, and you can have your half an hour, and could
Hmm.
build it up to maybe an hour. And that will allow you to choose whether you want to, if it's in the daytime, to go out for a walk, do something where you can sit, connect to nature, relax. Look around you, find something that's nice, that's pleasant, or even if you want to go out with someone, maybe a friend you haven't seen for a while, that you can just completely de-stress. You don't talk about kids, you can talk about anything else other than that. Have a coffee or tea or whatever you fancy, just to chill out,
Hmm.
because you forget that before you had children, you did all these things, or you went out and had an enjoyable evening. You might have gone to the theatre, or you might have gone to a film with friends, just to do something that's sociable and enjoyable for you. Or maybe you're got an interest, maybe you like photography, or you play a musical instrument, or you just like putting on music on your record player and listening to sounds. And it's things like that you can just do that you enjoy. Or lots of people do yoga just to meditate, but something that is specifically enjoyable for you. I mean,
Right.
some people just like going and having a good soak in the bath, but with a household of kids, that's not really good, because they'll always come and knock on the door if they know you're in the house, or
They'll
go off to
find
an
you.
art gallery. I mean, depending what's in your area, but there's lots of things you can do. I mean, around here, you've got lots of things you can join, not so much the gym, but there's classes that you can really enjoy. Just something that you really enjoy for the hour, you build it up and do it.
Absolutely. Great. Now you mentioned there's two parents in this situation here. So if it's one, it's a little on the difficult side to kind of like step away at night, for instance, or before the kids get up. So I guess, finding something during the day is ideal, but do you have any other suggestions?
Well, depending on their ages. I mean, if they're little, they'll be in bed and you'll have time to do something then. So whether it's just sitting down quiet without any noise, turn the TV off, read a book, do something that you like. Lots of people like these trust books you can get. We should concentrate, and you color them in. They're meant to
Mm,
be very good for your concentration, your mood, because you're de-stressing. You're doing something artistic for yourself. And
yes.
it can get quite addictive, actually. You can start doing it and then you just get used to it. Some people like to knit or crochet. I mean, there's lots of different things that you like. Or try doing, if you never painted, get some watercolors and a canvas and see how that goes. Just do something that trains your brain in a different way of thinking, that you can relax by doing it. You don't have to be a
Absolutely.
masterpiece painter, but
Yeah.
just nice. Or if you like, some people relax when cooking, baking. So there's lots
Hmm.
of things you can do in the home. You don't have to have the kids under your feet. And if you've got older teenagers, you can just say to them, I'm just having this hour or out. So if you're around and so wakes up, just put them back to bed for me.
Perfect.
Just, yeah.
No, that's so good. All right. Thank you for that. So this was a question from a parent. I remember I was in a class and then someone brought this up and they said, it's all great to have kids involved in helping at the house and doing things and stuff, but how do we do this when there's just not enough time? We get to work, we come home from work, there's the activities, there's homework, there's supper, there is like all the other kids and their needs, and then we got to put everybody to bed at a certain time, but there's just that little window. So how do we, you know, parent the kids to help out or just, you know, how does a parent navigate in that little window to try
Well,
to get everybody in line or kind of like on a structure?
routines are your friend. You have to have routines because routines you have in life. And they have to be flexible. They don't have to be rigid, but they have to be flexible, but you have to be consistent with them. And the aim is to get everybody involved with what these routines will be. You don't have to have a lot, 5 at the most, but you can have, for example, your kids are going to be different ages. So you can have the bedtime routine when they know certain ages go to bed at certain times. The older ones don't go to bed at the same time as the other ones. And especially if you've got a room where a few kids sleep together. So you put the youngest down first so they sleep and they've gone off, and then the older ones can come in then. But you have routines, whereas you don't have the television in the bedroom. You don't have the phones left in the bedroom because if you've got the youngest one sleeping, you've got some older tweaking around, they're going to wake up or they will want to get involved. So there's things like that. You have your whole night. Again, this is your time to go and have your shower and you've got so long. So you don't use all the hot water, things like this. Again, making sure that all the school bags are packed and near the door the night before. If there's homework to be done and handed in the next day, there's a routine for when that's going to be done before they're watching TV or on their computers or games. Again, if you get the showers in the evening, there's very little to be done. They just need to wash and clean their teeth and do their hair in the morning before they go to school. And then you count back before you've gone out through the door, the time it takes to get to school, the time it takes to get, if they're going by bus, how long it takes them to walk. So you're counting back all the time to breakfast. Set the table the night before for breakfast so it's easy. It's on the table, they can go. The school uniforms are out on the bed, including their shoes, so they don't have to find where's the left shoe gone. So that's all, everything's done. So it's everything easier. Waking them up, you make sure you give them enough time so that they can wake up, they can get dressed, do all the things, then have their breakfast. But with the understanding that if they're messing around at breakfast, then sorry, you're going to go without breakfast because this is a routine, you've got it. And they soon learn, oh, we're not going to take a snack on the way to school and eat it. No, we're going to sit down and have it as a family. And it's like everything like that. You try and
Yeah.
get the meals round the table. Mum says, oh, I might not want to eat something. Well, you've got to sit there, even if it's a bit of toast or a piece of fruit. You're showing your children that you're sitting there with them and you've got manners. You're teaching them manners. You're teaching them how to communicate. Phones are off in meal times because you're there as a family. You're listening, you're communicating, you're finding out about each other, their interests, their likes, how their day's been, what they're going to do, and what they want to do on the weekend, if they've got any hobbies they're interested in. If you don't talk to each other, how do you know what one another's thinking? So it's vital. So routines are really, really important. And once things are start running and you think there's something else that's lacking that needs to be tweaked, that routines that they already know, so you can put something else in instead.
Mm, so good. I love it. And I agree. Absolutely. Okay. My next question is, how do you deal with challenging behaviors? So kids aren't listening. We're constantly repeating ourselves. how do we handle this?
First
You
of
know,
all, we stop repeating ourselves. We stop being like a fishwife shouting because
oh,
we've learnt it's not working. And all it's doing is making you so knotted up inside. And when what comes out of your mouth isn't particularly nice when you feel like that, and your body language again. And you look at what's going on, and you first of all see, is there a reason? What is happening here with this child? Why are they being like that? Have I not responded to something that they wanted me to do? Have I not listened to something? Or if they're younger, what are they trying to tell me if they can't vocalize it? What is happening here? Little ones you can distract quite easily. You know, you just do something silly in the corner and they look round and just say, what's she doing now? Or, you know, pretend to be an animal jumping around the corner. And they also go from their temper tantrum to like, what's going, you know. And if they're having a temper tantrum, as long as they're not hurting themselves, against the furniture, kicking themselves or whatever, leave them to it. Leave them to calm down. Because if you get involved with it, it's going to go on for longer. I mean, I've got
mm,
a good example. My one, he only had one temper tantrum, and that was when we were outside. He had his reins on, and we were walking across the road, across a crossing, and he just lay down. He was just having a. And luckily for me, the car that had stopped was a friend of mine. And if you look at him, he went like, "What's going on?" I was going to pick him up, and I thought, "No, I'm going to just leave him there." So I just held the rein. I just stood there with my arms, and I didn't say anything. Just let him get on with whatever he was doing, maybe kicking his legs. And because I didn't say anything or do anything, eventually he just got up and just started to walk again. I didn't say anything. I didn't do anything, but he didn't do that to me ever again. It was so strange. And I've been out with children and families when they've had temper tantrums, especially if they've got on the autistic spectrum or something, and they've hugged onto the lamppost. This child was hugging onto the lamppost. He was trying to take him to school. And I just went, well, we can't do anything. We're not going to drag him off. We just have to explain when we get to school that this was a reason he was hugging this lamppost. So
mm,
we sat there watching him. There was a bench nearby and he was just hugging on. And eventually he let go. And then we continued walking into school. But what we did after that was we got what's called a buggy board, which goes on the back of the pushchair for the
okay.
older children, because his sibling was in the pushchair, so that was fine. And we found out that this older child liked to go for a ride. So in the end, he just used to jump on this buggy board and held on. And Mum didn't have any problems. She just used to take him backwards and forwards like that. And gone were the days of hugging the lamppost. So it's very, very strange. But if you can avoid certain things that are happening, as long as they're not going to hurt anybody or hurt themselves, leave it. Just try and distract, but leave it and it'll calm down. And if you start to talk to someone or shout at someone when they're in a mood, it just escalates. No one's
Mm,
hearing anything. So that's not the time to discuss what was going on. You can say the next day when they're quieter, I, I feel you're having a bit of a moment there. What was going on for you? Try and find out the reasons why.
mm,
And when you get to know your children so well over watching and helping, you start to see before, I suppose 9 times out of 10, when they're going to behave like this, you can see a look or a tone and distract them. I mean, sometimes, yeah, you get it wrong and it just goes all hell and you just think, well, that's it. And give them a safe space. You know, it's all great to say to them, you have your bedroom. If you want to calm down and things are getting a bit much for you, take yourself there or take yourself on a quiet corner of the room or the settee and have a box where some calm toys or books to read, you know, or coloring to do, so they can do that just to calm themselves down. And you'll find in the way they'll start taking themselves eventually.
I love that. That's so good. Actually, it reminds me of a time just recently, actually, that happened to us where my oldest, not my youngest, my oldest was having like just getting frustrated and just kind of like lashing out. And we sensed it. We felt something brewing and it was gonna be really ugly. If it was just us in the room, in the house, it would have gotten ugly. But because there were other people there that don't really know that kind of side of him, he kind of kept it contained, which is great 'cause we noticed the growth. But we also said that we kind of guided him in saying, like, wherever you are, you have to find a place that will bring you calm. Like right now we're in a house and there's like 20 other people here and it's a little chaotic, and you're having these feelings inside you. You got to find a safe place where you can just let it out in a way that feels okay to you. So whether it's walking outside, taking some fresh air, or going to our room because he didn't have an own room in this house, sharing with all the other children. So it's kind of hard to just let it out. So I said, come to our room, just let us know, and we will give you that space. So I find it really important to give kids, especially if they're a little older, just that quick exit or like that kind of
And
getting
also
it.
encourage them if they want to when they're outside to let out a scream, a loud noise, because it gets it out. So then it's okay. And let
Yeah.
them know that we all have those rages, those cross feelings, the anger, and yeah, we don't like it, but that's part of us. They're part of emotions and feelings. And
Mm,
there's reasons why we feel like that, the frustration. But we'll look at what's causing that. Why are you like that? Are you trying something and you're frustrated because it's not working? Are you doing your sums wrong or you're practicing something that you thought you were good at and it's not coming together? So, teach them that okay, life's like that and it's difficult and you're going to fail, but just keep on trying and you'll get it in the end. You might not understand it at first, but then, oh, someone will show you a different way. I mean, I
mhm,
remember my youngest son, he wasn't very good at maths and he couldn't get it. And my partner, an ex partner at the time, said, okay, he was really patient. He said, you can't do these maths this way. Well, try that. No. And he gave him about five different solutions.
mm.
And the fifth one, he went, oh, I understand that. But he was his patient saying, try that. No, I don't understand that. Well, what about this way? No. Oh, I see what you mean by this. Yeah, I get that. And it was just trying and knowing that there are solutions out there that can help.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in school, they don't do that. They don't help enough with if a child can't do something and the teacher's very rigid, do it this way or my way at all. It doesn't work on some of the children.
No. No, it's true. It's no longer the it's my way or the highway.
I wasn't good with maths. I had a maths teacher who used to ask us to put our hand up and do something, and I'd be working it out. So I put my hand up, and then he'd shout at me. And he shouted so much, I forgot what I was going to tell him the answer. And it kept on. I went back to my mum and I said, I'm not doing very well here because every time I try and work it out, I get it, put my hand up, and he was just shouting. I mean, he wasn't just at me, he shouted at everybody, but he said, I'd forget it. So I said, "Can I write him a letter?" And Mum says, "Yeah, yeah." And I said, "I just want to write to tell him that I don't want him to shout at me anymore because I keep forgetting what I had in my head from his maths." I was what, 11. I gave it to him. He read it. I thought, "Oh God, will he be back?" And he came over and he said, "I'm very sorry." And then he said to everybody, "I am very sorry to you kids that if I shout, I frighten you enough so you forget. I won't do that anymore." And he was a good guy. I mean, he was about 60. He had this parting down, smooth hair, very old fashioned hairstyle. But he was a good maths teacher, but this was how he was learned when he learnt in school. He shouted. I think he picked up that bad habit. And he was a softie. He was a nice guy. After that, he used to say to me, Kathy or Catherine, hand up. Do you remember? And I said, yes. And I could say it because he asked me. And I think he realized afterwards he was getting far more responses from the children rather
Mhm.
than, what's that answer? Sort of drop the paper.
That is amazing that you recognize that and you had the courage to just like listen to your heart, listen to your gut and say, you know what, I'm going to write a letter to this adult and tell him what I don't like or what he's doing, kind of like an observation.
Yes.
And he responded with such, I don't know, it's just I find it so amazing and it's beautiful. And I'm sure this story is probably repeated on his side, maybe, but you definitely changed his life. And so going back to the kids and their behaviors, I love that you said it's important that we create a safe space for them. And
Mhm.
you kind of painted it out at the beginning also that before we even communicate with our kids, especially if we're having a bad day, we need to find that space within us to come back to neutral or almost neutral zone, like having to train our brain to find that safe space quickly. So, what happens if we just really can't? Or it's like time is pressing, or there's a lot of people and the child is there, and we're like, "Ah."
You have to step away. Even if you can't go out of the room, if it's a little child, then you just got to sit down. You've got to go to a happy place in your head. Take a few deep breaths, really do. Because the thing is, the situation will get worse if you're all knotted up and tense. So if you can go in and get yourself a coffee and bring it in and drink it, something. But it doesn't matter if you're going to be late and things. If things are going on, you're going to be late anyway. So if you think you're going to be late and you're stressed, the stress will just keep on adding because you're thinking, I'm being late, I'm driving in the car, but with traffic going on, or I'm walking, I missed the bus. We're doing, so you can't worry about that. You've got to deal with the present, the actual moment you are in, sort it, deal with it. And if that means you're going to be late, fine. You just have to sit out. And if your child is ready, try a cuddle. Try a cuddle. Cuddles
Mm.
calm down. You know, as an adult, you practice how you can calm yourself down with breathing. You give yourself tips. I used to sort of think, rather than swear and jump around, I thought I'd close my eyes, count to 10, you know, if it's 20, whatever it is. And then if I can't count up, count back just to distract myself, go to my happy place in my head, as it were. I mean, I helped lots of families. There was a little boy I can think of. He had a teenage sister and a teenage brother. He was 8. And then he had another brother who was 7. And he used to have behavioral problems. It turned out he did have something wrong with him. They found out that was causing, but it was mostly because of the environment he was living in, and it was impacting on him. And mum was very heavily pregnant and quite slight. So she didn't have the thing to hold him. And he would come in and he would throw a television set. He'd broken so many TV sets. He'd pick up, they smoked. So he got these ashtrays and he'd throw them across the room like frisbees. They'd be, going all around. He shared a room with his younger brother and he'd go into the other rooms and he'd crash their toys and their work, never his stuff, but their stuff.
Mhm.
And mum didn't know what to do. And I said, you have to contain him because he was dangerous at this point. I mean, I was in these crispy, heavy ashtrays, crystal
Mhm.
ashtrays going past and the TV and the chair. So when he got angry, he got so much strength. So this chair would go crashing down. And I said, I want your permission. Can I hold him? And to stop him from that, she said, yeah, fine. So I got on the floor, I got hold of him and I held him so that my legs were over his legs so he couldn't move. And I
Mhm.
just held him. And I made sure his head, my face was away from him because he was trying to nut me and trying to bite me. So I got my arms in a bit so he couldn't get me. And he was spitting at me. He was doing everything possible. And I must have sat there. I thought, I'm going to a quiet place in my head with this. So he didn't feel that I was angry because he would feel that coming through my body.
Mhm.
And I just chilled while he was doing it. And the mum was saying, but he's spitting on your clothes. I said, I can wash my clothes. I can wash my skin. He's not going to give me any. I said, he's in a form where he can't think. He's just lost the plot. So I'm not going to say anything to him. I was talking to the mum. It's just, he was just doing all this. And then he said, I'm all right now. I've stopped. So slowed down. I could feel the tension in his body. I said, no, you're still angry. I can feel the tension. I will let you go when I know you're ready. And eventually you could see he was relaxed. He'd exhausted himself. And then I said, Mum, and she just opened her arms. She said, come for a cuddle. And she just gave him a cuddle. And then he'd say
Mhm.
to me, oh, Kathy, can we play that game now? Because we were playing until he'd done this. And then I packed the game away. And I said, no. I said, I'll play it next time because unfortunately this incident has taken up the time and I have to go home. I've got animals to feed at home.
Mhm.
Sure to say. And they went, oh, and I said, so bye-bye. And I wasn't cross or anything like that. And because I saw them 3 times a week, the next time I said, are you ready to play that game? Yeah. And again, he might have it again, but it got less each time. And then we spoke
Mm.
to him about his brothers and sisters and his stuff. And I said, if you keep doing this to your siblings, we're going to have to start removing some of the things that you like because you're going to have to learn you don't break people's things. And we did. We removed stuff. In the end, I put it in my car because I said, I'm not living in the house. I'm taking it with me in my car. So you know it's gone. And we'll give it to you when we know you're. And it was a hard lesson to learn, but it worked. And she had a brother who was older who come in, could manage his temper tantrums. And he came in when he was saying this. He saw me holding, he was watching. He said,
Mm.
he's never calmed down so quickly because what he used to do was he'd climb through the window and go running off somewhere again, which was a worry.
Oh my goodness.
So this helps a great deal. And it was good for mum because, as I said, she was really heavily pregnant. She couldn't
Yeah,
hold him like that.
absolutely.
Like,
So a lot of consistency, action, and
being calm.
Mhm.
And I was saying to him, you're doing really well. You're calming down. Breathe deeply. Just to, come on, let's go deep breaths, and
Wow.
he did. And he said he didn't, I didn't ask him to apologize. He said, I'm sorry, Kathy. I was like, that's it's all right. We get cross. It's all right.
Wow.
He said
So
that I've spat all over your clothes and your arms. I said, yeah, but and I always go home and have a shower. So put this in the washing machine. It's all right.
yeah.
And he was so surprised that I wasn't cross or shouting or angry that he did it, and that's what helps. I think it, just diffused everything.
Hmm. That is such a great story and a lot of lessons there. But wow, you definitely changed the family's life and their
Yeah.
dynamic. Awesome. Wow, Kathy, I love that story. Okay, so let's keep moving on. In regards to parenting, what is one habit that you would recommend parents to do to help build stronger, better, closer relationships with their kids?
So they have to be open to listening. They must really listen to their children and
Mhm.
we're inclined to put our opinions across to our children. No, there are opinions, but we're not hearing what they say. And they might try and tell us, especially our teens might try and tell us something. And we might go, "Poof, no, you don't know what you're talking about. Rubbish." They have an opinion and you have to really hear what they want to say. You might not agree with it, but they're learning, they're testing the waters. All children test the waters. And as they get older, we have to give them a break to make mistakes, to try things, to think, oh, I thought that was going to work, but that didn't work. Don't come on, jump on their back. Don't be what they call a helicopter pilot, where you control their life so much that they can't do anything, can't explore anything. And their self esteem doesn't develop because you're the one telling them what they should and shouldn't do. They're not developing. So
Mhm.
really listen to them, really give them your attention. Let them know that you are supportive of whatever they want to try and do, but you'll step in if necessary if you think something's going to not go right, that it's going to get harmful for them. So really, you know, be there for them in that respect.
Mhm.
Don't judgmental with them. Don't belittle them. So many parents try and belittle the kids. They try and frighten them if they're shouting at them or hitting them. It's all negative stuff. Keep the negativity out of your parenting because yes, your children might behave really well when you're in the room. When you walk in the room, they'll take one look at your body language and they'll freeze like this. You
Yeah.
don't want that. You don't want that sort of life for your children. And, so really, really make sure that you also work together. If there's two of you or extended family, they know the rules, they know the boundaries that you're trying to implement and do it. Whichever household or whoever's looking after the children, do the same thing.
Love that.
Reinforce it.
I love that you mentioned that it's important to include the other adults that help raise the kids
Definitely. Yeah.
because it's like it's a village that helps to raise the children, but you know, it's easy to say that and we hear it all over, but to actually say no, involve like the rules that you're implementing with the kids and, the boundaries that you want, just to educate the other parents too
And
of what you're trying to accomplish.
also the relationship the children have with their grandparents are different from the parents. and same with their cousins. And you might find whoever they go to, they might have a specific person that they can open up more to, sometimes you can't necessarily, it's too close to talk to mum and dad about something. You might have a worry about something or a curious question to ask. I can't ask mum that, I can't ask dad that, but I can ask my older cousin about it or my grandma or grandpa. They see things differently. They nurture, don't they, and cuddle. So they give you extra treats and things like
Yeah.
that. So it's so valuable.
Wonderful. All right. So we're almost at the end here. So is there any kind of like, aside from that listening, is there anything that would like to offer to parents, like a little tip?
Don't compare yourself to other parents or your next door neighbors. Do not, because you're all individual, you're all different, and you all have your own way of how you want your family to be raised. So, and don't be hard on yourself because you get these damn baby books and you read them and they've got all these lovely tips. Yeah, use some of the tips, try them, but don't treat them like the gospel, because I tell you one thing, if you read all these tips and they don't work when you've tried them and you think, I'm a failure because this
Mm.
book says I should do this, or these 3 books say I should be doing this. They're only the author's opinion, they're an insight. You know your children better than anybody else. They're your kids. You know them. You live with them 24/7.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kathy. This was a wonderful interview and a wonderful insight in your world. And just listening to you, I can have so many other questions, but I said maybe I'll ask that in another interview. Would you be open to that?
I would love that. Thank you.
Awesome. So where can people find you and reach you and learn more about you and your work? And where are you located? We didn't even talk about that.
I live in the UK, so I'm located in the UK. My website is life-change-coaching.co.uk. And on there, you'll see a link to click into an exploratory session, which is free. It's for 30 minutes on Zoom. And I'll send you the link after once you click into that and give me your details. And you'll just be able to talk to me, to chat for 30 minutes, to tell me what's going on for you that you might be wanting to sort out. What's the struggle? What's the hardest thing you're finding? And I'll tell you a little about how my coaching works and the packages I offer. And if coaching's right for you, it might be right for you, it might not be. But, you're just not on your own. Don't feel that because you have an exploratory session, I'm there to sort of, I'd love you to come on board with my coaching, but I'm not twisting your arm. It's just free for you to just talk to someone that knows about parenting. And I've worked with so many, well, from the age of 16 till now, and I'm 70 now, I've worked with so many different types of families and children, all ages, all situations, and we get stuck.
I will post all of this in the show notes, the link and everything that Kathy has just mentioned. So don't worry about that. And one last question. Are your services more in person or they're online or both?
Yeah, it's online. I do all online work and it's 6 sessions fortnightly over a period of 3 months, and they're 2-hour sessions because I don't like to rush. There's a lot once we start delving in. And I found
Mhm.
when I was doing my coaching, we used to always have when I was training, like an hour, and it was never enough. You're just getting your teeth into stuff and then
Mhm.
finished. I thought, no, this is no good. And I've learned that 2-hour sessions are perfect.
Yeah. Wonderful. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kathy. Thank you for being here and all this lovely, awesome details and information you've provided for us. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure.